What's up, everybody? Tanner Larsson here, and welcome back to the Optimized Ecommerce Podcast. Very excited to be with you guys again today, and very excited about our guest today. Okay, so this is an interesting one. All right, so she has been part of my life for, it feels like forever, but it really has only been since about 2000, I think 15, 16, somewhere in that range. 2015. Okay. And, but which is still, a long time considering right now it's 2021. So she's been around a long time. She's been basically a part of what I consider my family for most of that time, if not all of that time. And super excited to have her on here. Her name is Anna Susanto, and she is first and foremost, she's a rock star mom. She's an entrepreneur who has engineered her life in such a way that her kid comes first 100%, and work never robs from her life. I mean, I'm sure it has at times, but she's very methodical about the way she structures everything to do that. And, that's work, credit worthy in and of itself. It's amazing. It's, what a lot of us aspire to be. I actually was teasing about her in a previous podcast when I was interviewing Carrie Newman, and I made a joke about Anna. Well, that's this Anna. And, so we've been trying to get her on the podcast. I actually wanted her to be my first guest of our award show. So in Bill Grow Scale, we have the 6, 7, and 8 figure awards that we give out on stage. Anna happens to be the designer of those awards. And she was the first recipient of our 8-figure award, which you can see behind her head right here if you're on video. And so it was really cool that, she designed the awards that we give out. She knows all the members that we've given them to, but also then she got one herself at the 8-figure award, over $10 million in sales. And I was like, this will be great. We're going to kick this off and we're going to have Anna on here. And then we just can't coordinate. And then she tells my assistant, she's like, hey, we're going to be together. Tanner and I are going to be together at the beach, in a week or two, because we were going to a wedding. And she's like, how about we just do the podcast on the beach? And I'm like, what a cop out, right? Like there's no way we're going to have time at this wedding to do a podcast on the beach. Right. And so basically we did a lot of other interviews before we were able to get Anna on here. And then now we're here. And then, we talked about it when we were off camera, but she's like, yeah, that was really not a good idea. And I'm like, I felt like a cop out, but anyway, very excited to have her here. She's done so much in her life, but like in e-com specifically, she's one of those people who just gets it done and, is not afraid to help others and share others. She's very giving and all of that, which is amazing to our community. Like when you go into the Ecom Insider world, Anna is one of the first names people will say when they're like, who's helped you or who do you love? And they're like, Anna. So we love that. I'm not trying to make her cry, even though she's probably going to start crying in a second. But anyway, Anna, super glad to have you here. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. Oh, this is, I forgot there's no crowd. There's no people looking at me. So, I'm okay doing this. Just talking to you. It's fine.
No, we're just recording, and people will hear it after we get it all edited and spruced up. So the other thing, guys, you may not know about Anna. You can probably tell by looking at her, but she is incredibly not tall. One of my favorite jokes with Anna is that she's about the only person on the planet where I can stand next to her and feel tall. So I try to stand next to her whenever possible or whenever pictures are being taken so that I look tall. But Anna and I are both in the vertically challenged department, so we got to stick together in that world.
Yeah, you were calling me your younger sister in the last podcast, but you don't call me that. You call me your little sister, which is insulting, not complimentary. Like younger sister is flattery.
So yeah, not necessarily trying to be insulting, but Anna is one of those people who really don't look their age at all. So she's definitely, I have to give her credit though. She's probably my big sister, not my little sister. But she's definitely part of the family. My kids love her. And so she's very involved with not only what BGS does, her own business, her family, and, stays a part of ours as well. So Anna, why don't you, let's kind of give people a little backstory for you and basically kind of where you came from a little bit and like how you built your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, actually, I just realized that right around this week was when I turned in my letter of resignation from the last real job I ever had. So I was in the corporate world for a long time after graduating college. And this was 21 years ago that I quit my last real job. So so right around May, June of 2000 was when I quit. And I was just completely burned out. It was a corporate job. I was working probably 16-hour days, not even an exaggeration. And I was in meetings all day. I was burned out, and I quit. I had nothing to fall back on. I didn't have a job lined up. I just quit, and I had some savings, but not like it was probably a pretty dumb move. Looking back, but I make a lot of this, so that's good. So I spent like probably a month just decompressing and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I came up with this idea to start a company for video conferencing. So, but it involved back then, that's 21 years ago. So it was like a big deal. It took a lot of capital. And so I spent months doing business proposals and meeting with investors and getting rejected and eventually just getting totally dejected. And one of my coping mechanisms is doodling and drawing. So when I'm feeling down, I just sit there and I just start doodling and drawing. And I grew up with two cousins who are sisters, and one of them was moving away to New York. And so I decided to take one of the drawings I was doing, I had done, and put it on note cards. So I just bought like a stack of blank note cards, and I printed my drawing on it, and I gave them each a stack. And the idea was for them to write back and forth to each other. But it was really, just like a going away gift. And so one of my cousins, it was the first time I ever put my drawing on. I didn't call it a product at the time because I wasn't intending to sell it, but it was on something functional. Mm-hmm. And my cousin saw it, and she was like this big, corporate, whatever, VIP or something, a VP or something. And she's like, you have to sell this. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. No one's going to buy this, so, but, and I didn't think about it again. We didn't talk about it again, but as I was just trying to figure out what I want to do, I wasn't doing anything. And her words just kept ringing. I'm like, you have to. So I'm like, what? Why not? Let me just. I'm not doing anything. Let me see if I can. This is something I can do. And I came from this computer science, IT. I was going to be an astrophysicist or whatever. And drawing was I grew up being told that drawing and art was a waste of time. So to me, it was just going to be a little hobby, right? But I decided to just I wasn't doing anything, so let me try to figure out how to put my drawings on a card. And so I researched doing that, and then I researched how to start a website because I wasn't going to open a store. I didn't have the money to do that. And at the time, I had to host my website on I think it was GoDaddy, and I had to build it in Microsoft Front Page, which doesn't exist anymore. And I had to teach myself HTML, and I taught myself a little SEO because that was the trend back then, 21 years ago. That was the way you could get found. And people didn't really, it wasn't a focus for businesses at the time. So I did enough of that, taught myself enough of that to put up my website. And it was like a hobby. It was something for me to do. So I didn't really I didn't focus on it being perfect or whatever. And then meanwhile, after that, I figured out, I spent a couple of months on product development, and I bought a ton of inkjet printers and tested each one and papers, and I figured out, and I eventually found a combination of printer, ink, and paper that actually made my drawings look like they were hand drawn. So, so I added those to the store. And I think I like a month or so later, people started finding me because, the UVP, I didn't know it was a UVP at the time, but the thing that made me stand out was that it was printed on 100% recycled paper. And at that time, there weren't a lot of people doing that, but people were starting to like try to market themselves as green, like businesses were trying to do that. So they were finding me just based on the SEO that I did as a eco-friendly greeting card. And I was one of the very few. And so I started getting some orders on the website. And then it was like March 2002, I think, I got an email from Trader Joe's. And Trader Joe's is like very focused on being eco-friendly and kind of ahead of the curve that way. And the email was, we're interested in carrying your cards in our store. Please contact me. And so I'm like, this has got to be a scam, right? But I'm like, what the hell? I'll call. And I talked to the lady and like, she told me like they in California, their 90 stores was attached to, what is it? Like a floral store, like they sell flowers. Yeah. So they wanted my note cards there. So she's like, please send us 25 samples of your best designs, and we'll try to pick maybe 2 or 3 to carry to test in those stores. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. And I hung up the phone and I just started screaming and yelling around the house because I'm like, holy crap, it's real. And so after that, I was like, oh my God, this is a real business. And I figured out, and like we worked back and forth, I was totally green. And the lady at Trader Joe's she was kind of mean, but she was really good at like helping me along. And so after a few months, my stores ended up in 90 of their my cards ended up in 90 of their California stores. And awesome. So like so I thought they were going to order like a few cards at a time. Their first purchase order that they faxed to me, because back then people were still faxing things to each other, but they faxed to me was for 16,000 cards. And I was printing them in my house on one inkjet printer at the time. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to print 16,000 cards on one inkjet printer. So what I did, because I didn't know any better, was then I bought 8 of the 6 inkjet printers. And I had 8 inkjet printers going, did all the printing, did all the folding. Eventually I learned to buy a folding machine and a cutting machine. I did all of it at 16,000. The next PO was 25,000, and then the next PO was 25,000, and then the fourth one was 30. And I'm like, all right, I can't keep doing it. It was like all consuming, right? So eventually I learned to like outsource the printing. And so that was like a 5-year relationship. And then I started selling on Amazon. And at the time, Amazon had this category called greeting cards or holiday cards. And I ended up 7 of their top 10 best-selling cards. And so that was really good too. But so I, it really took off. And then I ended up doing almost $5 million in sales on that business, but it was so overwhelming, and I cannot talk about the overwhelm and the loneliness of it. Like I can still feel it. It was like 15 years ago, and I can still feel how overwhelmed and stressed I was constantly. So when miraculously I found out I was pregnant with my kid, with Haley, and knowing that, I wanted to focus 100% on her, I decided to close the business because to me at the time, it was impossible to run a business the way I had experience running a business and also raising a child. So I chose to focus on her, and I was relying on on somebody else to provide, to pay expenses, and then so I made a good amount of money, so I had savings. But like 4 years in, and there was no money coming in, and savings was dwindling because you forget to pare down expenses.
Yep.
When money's coming in, it's like the last thing you do. But I mean, I don't regret the choice I made because the way, that was my intent, was to just absolutely focus on Haley. But if I had known then what I know now, I know I could have kept the business going. And the difference is that now I found, sometimes I hate talking about this because I feel like it's a sales pitch. But because seriously, I'm like, I drink the Kool-Aid. I'm like the biggest fan. But honestly, it was life-changing. It's life-changing to me because it's not the revenue optimization and, email, whatever that you guys teach. It was at the very beginning. Well, first of all, okay, let me back up. I don't know if we have to rewind or whatever, but
no, we're good.
Let me back up. So, because this is actually a pretty important part. So 4 years in, savings were dwindling. And I don't even think you and Matt know this, but I was 2 months from not affording my mortgage. And then
when I met you, that was where you were at?
When I met Matt, yes.
Oh my gosh.
I've never told him that. And he offered me a part-time job to do his design, to do designs for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was perfect because I could still be there for Haley, and I could make, and it was actually enough income to pay the mortgage and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so it was perfect. And so I started doing that at the end of 2014. And then, as Matt does, he likes to lift you up, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Sorry. He loves to lift people up. So he's like, all right, I know I'm going to lose you as my designer, but I know you could make so much more money if I taught you the marketing. So he did. And around February of 2015, I started doing designs for myself. And
selling print on demand, right?
So selling print on demand. So I was designing designs for shirts or t-shirts. Yep. For him. At the time, that was really all you could. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the time, t-shirts was the thing. So he taught me how to do the marketing with Facebook ads, Facebook pages, and all that stuff. And I think within the first couple of months, I was already doing it was $20,000 a month in commissions. That's not in sales. That wasn't commission. That was my take home. And I was just like, what the hell is happening? I'm selling t-shirts and I'm making, this is ridiculous. This has got to be a fluke. And then the next month again, and then eventually it's I got to $40,000, $60,000 months. And then he's like, well, there's this event called BGS Live, and I think you should really go to it. I think you'll learn a lot more. You can, you're right now, it's you're selling t-shirts, but I think you can create a business out of it. And so I'm at that point, I'm just like, Matt, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. So I went to BGS Live in 2015. And I remember the first time I saw you on stage, I'm like, this kid is 15, like 16 years old, and he's going to teach me to do like, business. Like, what is, like, this is so strange. But I was just like, you know what? I've already experienced so many things that were just outside my realm of what I thought was possible. I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna just listen and take it all in and see what happens. And it was the first time that I was ever surrounded by people who, were doing like hundreds of thousands a month, a million a month. And like, it's the first time I ever realized, this is possible. Like, I could really make a living, like a really good living out of this, right? So I joined. I don't even know what it was called back then. I don't even think I joined the whatever BGS membership you had. I think I went straight to Black Label. Yeah, I went straight to
Black Label, which was our ecom mastermind. Yeah.
It wasn't immediate because I didn't know if I could afford it immediately. But once I realized, all right, I can't afford not to be in it. So I joined Black Label, and that's where I learned to get out of my own way and to start delegating things like, don't buy 8 printers when you need to print 25,000 cards. Like, it didn't even occur to me that print on demand was already the structure that I need. Like, somebody else does the fulfillment, somebody else carries the inventory, and like it dawned on me when I got into Black Label. Oh, I'm already on the path of not doing everything myself. And so that's when I learned to, like, as soon as possible, start, like, have someone else do customer support, because I absolutely suck at customer support.
So do I.
It drains me. Like, I want to just, I'm the worst at it. So, I learned that kind of thing. And also just being around people who were at this level that I didn't even know was possible. And it made me feel like it was possible. And, and it was also like a group that, it was like a bunch of you and Max, like everybody really, they really wanted to lift other people up. Like, there was a little bit of flexing, but it's like, it was earned. So like that was just absolutely pivotal, because that's when I realized I could actually own a business or run a business and still do what I was put on earth to do, which is to raise Haley into this amazing woman, right? All right, I'm going to try. I realize this is a podcast, so people are probably, why is her voice cracking so much? So anyway, so 2001, I think, is when I launched my first website, and then I closed it down at 2010, which is when Haley was born, right? And so I did roughly like 5 million in revenue. And then within the first 5 years of being part of the BGS, ecosystem, whatever, like this bubble of awesomeness, like I did the same amount of revenue. But the difference was that, like, I was still showing up. I was still going to every single one of Haley's field trips.
Yep.
I was room mom. I was focused and I was present for her, because I wasn't overwhelmed and I wasn't stressed because I wasn't, like printing 25,000 cards in my basement. I had somebody else doing that. And so that's the kind of thing I learned when I joined you guys. And that's why I think I tear up every time I talk about it, is because it's not like yeah, this is, $10 million, which is an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah,
but
it is.
But I learned because of you, I learned how to do that, work smart. Like, and the way you said it at the beginning was really touching, and it was really perfect, but it was perfect because that was my intention all along. The second I found out I was pregnant, my intention was I'm going to be there. Like, this kid is going to be my focus. I'm going to raise an amazing human being, and I'm going to create a life that I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to create a life for us where I can be there for her, as much as I need to be. Now, obviously, I'm not on her 24/7, but like every important thing and every, when we're together, we're really like spending time together. And that was the most important thing to me. And so like, I love like the screenshots of big revenue numbers and stuff like that. And I always celebrate it, especially in the now EI group. But to me, that was the most important part of the journey, was that I was able to do all this and not do it alone, and like be there for Haley.
And you've done phenomenally well at that. And it's one of the things that I don't think there's a single person that, within our ecosphere that knows you that doesn't say the same thing. Like, you made 5 million in a quarter of the time it took you to make the first 5 million, but you also did that while having time and, not robbing Haley of her mom during her, younger years, or even now, as she's getting older. I mean, she's going to middle school now, which is amazing. So guys, as you're listening to this, you hear her, Anna, talking about, BGS and Black Label. And then now she said Ecom Insider, just to tie those two together. If you're not part of the BGS ecosphere, Black Label Mastermind was our original e-commerce high-end mastermind for like the high performers. And then we had a coaching program that we called the Academy, where we would teach people, who wanted to learn and all this stuff. Over the years, most of our Black Label members wound up in the coaching program at the same time as they were in the mastermind. And so we said, hey, why are we doing two separate things? Let's just create one place that's not your typical coaching program, but rather more of a mastermind / family / guided mentoring place where we all come together, everybody shares, and, a rising tide raises all ships, and we all kind of grow together. And so when we did that, we created Ecom Insider. And Anna, being that she was in Black Label, she was one of the very first people in Ecom Insider, and, has been there since day one and seen it evolve over the time. But just to connect those dots for you guys, so you're not kind of wondering what we're talking about. But I'm actually, this is great, Anna. Like, there's parts of this story that even like I've heard it multiple times, but I didn't know. I certainly didn't know that you were, almost broke when you joined us. Like, I had no idea. I mean, you definitely kept that tucked to your chest, and
it's
obviously
not easy to talk about.
No, it's not. But so let's jump forward. So like one of the most rewarding times I've seen you cry, like, we'll just start there, was when we were in North Carolina at a mastermind. And you had mentioned it earlier that basically your whole life you'd been told that your art and drawing it's not going to get you anywhere. It's a waste of time. Don't do it. And that I'm just going to share it. It created some demons for you that you had to deal with. And guys, as you're listening to this, so we were talking to Anna, and she is an amazing artist. Like, her art is fantastic. And, she obviously made some money with it, putting it on greeting cards, but then even in the print on demand space, she was never showing her. Like, we know people buy from people in the store, but she was always kind of hiding behind her skills and never showing it. And then we were in North Carolina, and she actually brought one of her pieces. And I believe it was the mermaid piece. Yeah. And guys, I'm telling you, this piece is gorgeous, and it is vivid and bright. And it's this mermaid swimming through, and she hand drew it and colored it and everything. And all of us were blown away. but she didn't even want to show it to us. Like she broke down crying and was like shaking because she couldn't show it to us, and much less offer it for sale, because she knew that's what she wanted to do, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. And it was, through the group and everything else, that for me, that was such a huge turn. I mean, yeah, you've made a lot of money before, but that was such a big turning point in you and your future business and everything, because at that point you were like, okay, I can actually sell this. I am my art is of value. People do like it. And like, it's one of my favorite memories that we have together of that time. But, talk about what it's been like, I guess, once you decided, hey, yeah, I'm okay selling my own art, because a lot of people are scared of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's actually still a struggle for me, because right now the designs I do, I'm starting to integrate a little bit more of what I call my artwork, but it's still mostly words, and then but I do it in a very artistic way, and I think that's what attracts my buyers to it, because there's it's some pretty common popular work quotes and stuff like that, but I do it in a way that people like
makes it unique.
Yeah, that does make it unique, and they come back. They see all the other designs, and they come back. It's like I have fans. They come back many times, and are waiting for the next design. So in that way, it's a lot easier when the focus is off my actual artwork. But when I'm trying to sell, like, just the idea of selling like art, which is like my heart, my soul, everything poured into a creation, it makes me feel so vulnerable, and it's a lot tougher. And I think that was the pivotal moment for me, was that the day in North Carolina when I did that, and I survived it. Like, you have no idea. I was absolutely petrified. And there were a couple people in there that were looking at me like, this lady is batshit crazy. And I 100% felt that way. And, sometimes I have like this tinge of regret that like, like, why did I do that? But after that, I was like, I literally carried that canvas to the bus stop.
Yep.
And then I took it to Starbucks and just like carried it around. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm surviving this too. And that again, it was a big moment, but really it boiled down to getting out of my own way yet again. Like that was like the biggest, I think that was one of the biggest obstacles for me. And so I'm actually going to start doing a lot more of just my creations now. Like I'm going from straight words to words in my design to words with a little bit of my artwork, and now it's going to pretty much be almost all artwork. And it's still kind of petrified to me and daunting, but it's like I don't think I would have even considered it if it hadn't been like seeing you and Matt and Chris and Alex was there, and Igor was there, and Christina was there, and that everybody was just like, you got this. This is like one of the most important parts of being part of the BGS spheres, I think is what you just called it, is that I'm surrounded by people that like really make you feel like you can do this, like you got this, you can do this. And I don't, especially in e-commerce and stuff like that, I don't have anywhere else to go with this. Like I can't go just like to my friend who's not in e-commerce and share the same things with her as I do with people in the group. And, and she loves my artwork, and I finally did start, she never saw it until I shared it with the mastermind. That's how closed up I was about it. And so she did finally see it. And of course she's like, she loves it. She's my friend, but I can't tell her it's really hard for me to sell it. She's like, why? Like people don't understand.
Know what's inside.
Yeah, they don't understand. And then, but you have this group that they get it because they have their own demons, as you call it. They have like their own obstacles that they're trying to get through. And I think that's one of the driving forces to my success now. It's like one of the most important things is that I never feel alone anymore in this, like in business. Like I never have to try to make a decision without bouncing the idea off of somebody else. That doesn't mean I'm going to listen to you, but it's nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off. It's nice.
Someone who actually is in the same space and understands what you're talking about.
Yeah, understands. Yeah.
Have dozens and dozens of those people at your beck and call, basically.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, and it's like in the group, and even just like private messages and stuff, it's like, it's just like, I think that's why I don't feel the same overwhelm, because I know whatever, like I don't have to bottle things in. So I have an outlet now. Like I know if I need to vent about USPS, then I can just put it in the group and everybody's like, no, they suck, and you don't realize how important it is to release that kind of stuff, even as small as you think it is. It's like, you don't realize how important it is to have an outlet for that with people like jumping in and and giving you feedback, until you remember. Like I had that for almost 10 years doing it alone. And, and now with, the however many years, 6 years now, I'm looking at my calendar because I never know what day it is. So, or what year it is even. Oh, it's 2021. So like 6 years, it's just night and day. But I don't even know what question you asked, but that's where I went with it.
No, that was great. So, obviously you are fully immersed in what BGS does. The revenue optimization, you're a huge part of Ecom Insider and everything else. But, obviously our Ecom Insider members, they're listening to this right now. They obviously pretty much every insider is, addicted to the podcast. They listen to it all the time. They love hearing from everybody. But for those people who maybe are just listening, they're not really part of Ecom Insider. They're not part of really what BGS does. They've never been to an event. I guess what would you say, like, if you could share like a big takeaway, aside from you already shared one, which was having people around you who are like-minded and everything else that you can count on, but something else that you would say, like a big takeaway from that you've gained out of what you've learned from BGS or been a part of or whatever, or that you could help them with.
Well, there's a lot.
Okay, pick one to start with. We'll start there.
You cannot limit. Well, I think the biggest one is to start. I mean, you're not gonna, like, you literally can't do anything unless you get started, right? Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of people, they get so hung up on making everything perfect. And even sometimes on the jam session, jam sessions or the copy calls, a lot, because I've been on a lot of copy calls. Like, people they've been working on their sites for months and months and months, and they, and just don't want to pull the trigger on stuff, or they have, you guys do their email flows, and they don't even start some of them.
Yeah, like the ones I see behind you right there. Mind-boggling. And so I think the number one thing is just get started. Even like if you
you want to start a business and like you have it, get started doing that. If you want to add a new product or, do the research, get started. Just get it started. Don't worry about perfecting it. And was it that Ian, the guy who says his name wrong, Ian?
Ian Garlic.
He had a shirt that says progress, not perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like perfect. That's like, I always, because I get really caught up in getting everything right before putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really had to learn to just get it started. Don't worry about it being perfect. Implement and then tweak.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people struggle with that. So, I think it's probably one of the most important things I would have to one of the big pieces of advice to give. And the second one that comes after that is don't quit. That's another huge thing I've seen a lot of people do is they quit on their business, they quit on themselves, they quit on the lifestyle that they had envisioned for themselves because it got hard, like this is hard. Like any guru that tells you the shit is easy, I'm sorry, like bleep that out, I don't care. But anybody who's out there telling you just have to install this theme and like you will magically become a millionaire is bullshit. Like it's hard work. You got to be in it. You got to like take some kind of action every single day. Now I've created a life where, like I can step away from the business and it still runs, but it's still like what effort I put into it is what I get out of it. Mm-hmm. Like if I step away from the business for a month, it's going to maintain for a month. It's not going to grow, right? So you still have to show up, and you can't quit. Quitting is a guarantee that you won't get to where you want to go. That's the only guarantee. Like you can pivot, you can make adjustments, you can fail. I have failed so many times. You have to like get yourself back up and start over again if you have to. But like, don't quit on yourself until you get to where you want to go. Like it's just it's people who like I was messaging Christina the other day. For some reason, I started paying attention to the number of people in the in Ecom Insiders, and every time I see like not many people leave, but every once in a while I see that number go down. And every time I see that number like go down by one, even, I'm like, oh man, like I feel so bad for that person because I feel like, I don't know, I don't know where they went out, like outside of the group, but I feel like being in the group is your absolute best chance to make shit happen, right? And so when they leave the group, I feel like they're going to be like, how I was, like just totally lost and following, some new guru with all these promises and of just like magical things happening without any work, Yeah. And so, but it's hard. So, like I I think I've posted so many times in the group, like, don't quit. Because like I have failed so many times, and if I had quit every time I failed, like totally just blew up a business or like lost so much money on a business, if I had quit then, like I wouldn't be in the point where I am now, where I can't, like during the day, I could take a week off and know like everything would be okay, and the store is still generating revenue, customer service is getting handled, orders are coming in and going out. And that was always my goal. And, like this award was never my goal. I never realized I could achieve this. This is ridiculous to me. But like my goal is always to have the kind of lifestyle where I can spend my time doing really whatever I wanted to do. I don't mean like every single day, all the time, but when it's really important, I don't have to ask my boss, can I take off 2 days? I mean, like sometimes I take that for granted, but like I really I don't have anyone to answer to, and that's just like priceless to me,
Mm-hmm.
So again, I don't even know if I answered you. Like if you want to do a whole new freaking podcast.
No, this is great. I mean, this is, I never know where we're going to go with our conversations, but I mean,
it's just I'm just like
this
talking
is good.
to you.
No, you're talking, you're speaking what needs to be said. And I know people are listening, and I'm sure there's someone listening who is on the verge of quitting or giving up, or, I mean, we all know how many people, we all listen to podcasts. We're all consuming content. We're all trying to find that thing. And a lot of the times it's just that reassurance that, we are okay. We are, we do need to stick with it. There are people out there who understand what they're going through. You know why people, sorry, I interrupted you, but I don't care. You're fine.
You know why people quit? I think like you said, there's so much stuff out there to consume. And a lot of it, the bulk of it, I would say, because it comes through my feed too. And I get private messages from people, trying to sell their courses. And a lot of it is like somebody who is able to generate a certain amount of income in a year. And then on their very specific store with their very specific product, and decided that they were qualified to teach this to everybody, doing the exact same thing they did to get the exact same result. So I made $100,000 in a month, and now I can teach you with my system, and so people join, like they give their money to these courses like that, and they expect that like the results to come easy. They don't expect to have to do the work. And so when the results don't come easy, and they're like, what happened? I paid you $10,000 and you said I'd be a millionaire by now, and I'm not. So
many of those things, they're not built on a solid, so much of that information is just crap anyway. It's all, proof of concept or one-hit wonder stuff. You can't build a business on those kind of pieces. So I think you're right. People get overwhelmed, they get frustrated, they get disenchanted, disenfranchised, whatever you want to call it. And then they just kind of, fade away. And that's, with us, we've always had great information, and because that's what we do, is we build businesses. We have good info, but then now with BGS being, having so many partner stores and so many revenue optimization experts and just acquiring all that data, our information has gotten only better. But that was, from my perspective, like that was only half the battle. What you're talking about is why we call BGS a family, right? Because it's not only for you and the other members, like I need it, Matt needs it. We all need that infrastructure and that support network. And, it's great when we give hey, here's the data, here's what works. But then 400 other store owners go out and do that same thing, and we get all that feedback together. And then it's like, hey, this didn't work. And then you're chiming in and I'm chiming in. And it's like, but like even in the Ecom Insider yesterday, BJ made that amazing post, right? And about, what you can control and what you can't control, and how we tied it to ecom, circle of control. Yeah. And so I read it, and I was in my own head yesterday, and I was beating myself up about things that I can't control, and getting kind of depressed and frustrated and everything else. And then I jump in the group, and there's a post from BJ literally outlining everything that I was thinking in my own head. And just I already know that I'm doing it, right, but I couldn't stop until BJ's like, hey, here's, I go through this too. Here's this. And I was like, and it totally, I literally felt a weight lifted off my shoulders yesterday when that happened. And if it wasn't for that community and the family that we've built, I wouldn't be successful. And, I don't feel like a lot of our other people would be either, because We need that.
Yeah. And I mean, I love, like, I consume all the content. I've done the site audit, like, GA package, like I've done all that, and it's invaluable. But my absolute, like, my favorite part is the family. I don't even like you calling it community. Like, it really,
Yeah.
it really is. I'm like, community, but it really is a family. And it's, like I said, it's like, no matter what, like, software will change, apps will change, ad strategies will change, like, all that stuff is going to just, like, come and go, needs to be tweaked. Strategies change, revenue optimization strategies that worked
constantly
3 years ago aren't, or even a year ago, aren't, may not work now. But I know no matter what, like, I don't have to do this alone. And that is, it's like it's a switch in your brain where you realize, all right, this, like, I have people, and, especially, like, it feels like you underplay, like, all the data that you get, like all the data you get from all the other stores, the amplified partners and stuff. Like, I rely on that, like, I'm not passionate about e-commerce. I've told you this. Like, I don't wake up in the morning like, I can't wait to e-commerce today. It's like, I'm not that person, but you guys are. Like, talking to some of your ROs on these jam sessions, like their faces like lights up, and I'm like, oh, it gets me fired up. But, like, I rely on the stuff you do. Like, it's kind of like I rely on my fulfillment partner to do, like, orders come in, orders go out. I rely on my customer service team to, like, so I don't have to, like, bitch at people, That's like literally what I would do all day. Although, like, now we've built this business to the point where it's like the customer service is so good that there's, like, I don't remember the last time we had a negative email. So that's a whole podcast on its own. But anyway, this is the kind of thing you learn day to day on the calls and the GSDs in the group by members, is you learn to make all these little tweaks to your store, to your emails, to your customer service, to your processes, that eventually you get to the point where, like, you have almost zero customer issues, or at least if one does come up, you already have a process in place. You get to a point in the business where it's seamless and there's no overwhelm. There's, like, I can't remember the last time, like, my day was overwhelming, at least, like, for business. So there's obviously things that happen in life that you're going to have bad days, but I'm like, so zen. And, like Carrie was mentioning that we're accountability partners. And sometimes I'm just like, this is like my morning was beautiful. I worked 2 hours and got so much done in the 2 hours. And, there's like zero customer service, like I have so much stuff to be grateful for, just because of all the different, like the way my business is run now, because of all the little micro tweaks that I learned on all the calls, on, and like the membership, like everything. It's not overnight. Like, you gotta work it. But once you apply these tweaks, you get to a point in the business where it's just running so well, and you're generating revenue. And my thing is, like, I don't want to have to figure out these tweaks, like, especially on the revenue optimization. I want you to spend the millions of dollars on testing on multiple different sites, and then you tell me what works, and then I'll test it. Like, I seriously, I rely on the information you provide, and I kind of use it as it's like almost like you're my in-house team for this, like, so that I don't have to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just have to figure it out for my store, but I don't have to like come up with the stuff. It's like having a team of 80 people
mm-hmm.
working on my site for me, even though I really don't have a team of 80 people working on my site. You know, I don't even know if that makes sense. But
it does. No, it makes total sense. I've never actually, thought about what we do that way, but you're right. Like we're literally delivering that resource, but it's, for so many of our insiders, that's why they're there, right? Because we're not just giving the data, but I mean, you're using it. You rely on it so that you can make your decisions and run the rest of your business, because this is the stuff that we're good at. We're going to give you our expertise and show you what to do. But I never actually thought of it about like how you just said, like relying on it. That changed just shifted a perspective for me in my head. And I appreciate that, because sometimes we kind of, Matt and I get into our own head about like the value, like, are we really providing, the value to people? Because we know our data is good, but like,
I know you've said that you two have said that a couple of times. I just want to like smack you, like smack your heads together every time, because it's like, it's true. I just like, I don't want to have to, that's one of the things I don't want to have to figure out. Like, I don't mind you telling me this works, and I learn about it and I research it and I implement it. But you know how much time and like resources it takes to figure out some of these, like
absolutely
every single tweet.
I mean, 2,600 hours a week of paid time is what it costs our team. 2,600 hours a week. I do know how much it costs.
Experience with this, Matt. So there's this group called BGS. Yeah, so I mean, it's there's like so many different components to the BGS sphere. I really like that word. That on its own is invaluable. When you put all those three together, and it's just like I used to be, I think I counted like over 100 groups and members and like 30 memberships or something like that. It was ridiculous. This is the only one I'm still in. This is the only group I ever check in with, like the only one. And because it's like, it has everything I need, like so I don't know. So if you ever, like you and Matt, seriously, if you guys ever say something like that, and I know this isn't revenue generating for you. I mean, like you guys really don't need to do this, but I know like you have a passion, not just for the content, but for sharing it, which is what I absolutely love. And which is why I started sharing in the group, which is my family. Like like no one outside of EI knows a damn thing what I do. Like, they except for on Facebook, I only share stuff mostly about Haley because at the beginning it was to, my family is dispersed all over the world. And so it was a way to let them watch her grow up. But in EI, like I share all my wins and a lot of times even we call it life lessons, but it's fails. Sugarcoat it. All the times I screwed up. Sorry, all the times I screwed up. And I'll put that in there too, because like you said, like you don't know what post will resonate with you. You don't know what conversation on the call will resonate. And so like that's actually one thing I struggle with, is every time I post, there's like it's getting shorter and shorter, but there's like a period of time where like, should I post it? Should I not post it? Should I post it? Should I not post it? But then there's always that one comment that says, I really needed to hear this today. Mm-hmm. And this has happened to me on a lot of people's posts, where somebody posts something like, I needed that today, whether it was mindset or aura or email or whatever, there's always something where, on somewhere I'm hearing in this whole BGS sphere, like I needed that today. And that's just,
Yeah. No,
it chokes me up.
Yeah. No, it keeps you filled up. I love the way you describe it. So that's awesome. Guys, this has been a great podcast. We've covered a lot. I didn't actually intend for it to be like how great BGS is. Like, obviously I think it's great and she thinks it's great, but I'm glad that someone else was able to put it into words in a different way. But again, was not the purpose of the podcast. If though, however, you decide that you would like to learn more about BGS and working with us, you can go to workwithbgs.com and you can actually hop on a call with one of our revenue optimization experts and just chat. Chances are you'll talk to Brett or Jacob or Christina. And they're not salespeople. They literally do RO for a living. Like, that's what they do. So, but they can give you the feedback and help you with your store. And if you decide you want to work with us, great. But it's workwithbgs.com. This is the first time I've actually shared a URL like that in the podcast in over 50 episodes, but it kind of fits because I want to join just based on what she said. So with that,
though, guys, the record, I was supposed to talk about print on demand today. that's what it's like. Hey, maybe you can,
we'll just have you come back and do another one where we'll actually talk about print on demand.
I totally derailed this podcast and I apologize.
No, it was great. But guys, this was good. So if you enjoyed this episode, again, like if you liked what Anna had to say, leave a comment, say what you thought, post a review, whatever. But if you need the show notes, and honestly, make sure you're subscribed to this thing because it's a weekly thing and we're doing it for you. So you can subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you listen to your podcast, but then also hop over to the YouTube channel and make sure you're subscribed there. You can get links to all that stuff, including the show notes at buildgrowscale.com/podcast. And I highly recommend, if you've never checked it out on video yet, you should hop over there and look at this episode. Look at, so you can put a face to Anna's voice for sure, but also look over her short head and look at that 8-figure award behind her that she designed and also earned one of. But it's just super cool looking. I've never seen anything like it, I promise. So anyway, go check that out, buildgrowscale.com/podcast to get access. And thank you, Anna. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you all in the next episode.